I think because we have undercounted ourselves and underestimated ourselves, we've quite forgotten that we were never a minority. As 1 billion African people on the face of the earth, we can create industries overnight if we decided that we don't wear no underwear we don't make. We don't eat no food that don't come from one of our farms. We don't sleep on no mattresses we don't make. We don't bury our loved ones in any coffins we don't make. We take the coffin industry away from the mafia. We've forgotten our great potential as a people.
Thank you for tapping in. It's Brian HRap B. Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes with HRap. Thank you for tapping in. As I just said, it is important that you hit that like, hit that share, subscribe if you haven't. Tell a friend, and if you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, go to www.theendofthebench.com. You'll see the Black History video that I have, and you'll see this in its entirety. This is a few minutes with HRap. Thank you to my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there would be no me. You'd be doing something else with your valuable time. Thank you for tapping in. Today's episode is called Play Defense. Play Defense. Why is it called Play Defense? Because it's time for us to play defense. We are a reactionary community. We have to start defending our community before we're under attack, even though we've consistently been under attack for more than 300 years. This is what we have to do. It's time to play defense. And how do we play defense in a white nationalist organization? That's what the United States is. It's a corporation. But white nationalist situation in which we're being under attack on a regular basis. How do we do that? We start looking at the tea leaves. We start reading the tea leaves. We start realizing what's going on. The tariffs. Everybody's in up in arms about the tariffs. I mean, the tariffs are going to cost us this, cost us that. The Financial Times, a news organization that talks about finances, that's how you find out the real news. You don't watch CNN. You don't watch MSNBC. You look up the Financial Times. When you look at the Financial Times, they'll tell you what's going on. The latest thing is the cargo ships that are coming over from China are 3/4 filled. That means it's not going to be a surplus of things. You're going to have a deficit. And when you have a deficit, or you're going to be bereft of something, what happens is the price goes up. Because if it's only a few, then we're going to charge you more because the tariffs made us charge you more because we can't afford to ship as many goods. A lot of people in our community are consistently saying this. Oh, see, we know how to survive when we're poor. If we knew, these are some of the things that I want us to pay attention to. Right off the bat, what I want us to pay attention to is this. Since we know how to supply, we need to over-index financially in things like beans and rice and other non-perishable goods, canned goods, and things of that nature, so that when the price goes sky high temporarily, or as I anticipate, and a lot of people anticipate Jackass Jones, who in the office, to back up off that stance because he's being exposed in front of the world, we'll have a surplus of perishable, non-perishable goods in our cabinets, in our coffers. That way, when the price goes way up here, we can afford those goods. We don't have to adhere to that stuff because we know how to make a po' boy. Hypothetically speaking, we know how to make what we call a struggle meal. And when the prices go sky high, you eat a struggle meal. The crazy thing about a lot of the quote unquote struggle meals, they're better for you. It's funny how the rice is going to go up, but rice ain't really good for you. But beans are not going to go up because we grow a lot of our beans here. You start eating beans and rice and potatoes and things of that nature, it'll fill you up for the day, and things of that nature. Once it fills you up for the day, at that point you start losing weight. Your blood circulation improves. You start exercising more and doing things of that nature. That way you stay healthy. You're more alert, because contrary to popular belief, you shouldn't be eating 3 meals a day. I know, man, they say that you're supposed to eat 3 meals a day. Question: if you're eating 3 times a day, food is for nourishment. You bring nourishments inside of your body. If you bring those nourishments inside of your body processes that food. Once it processes that food, it takes the nourishments and the vitamins and ions and everything that's beneficial to you, and it sends it to specific portions of your body. vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C, and so forth and so on. And those things help your body function. They heal your body, they help your body, and they put your body in a specific way. Now, if you're eating 3 times a day, your body isn't processing, it's digesting. It's digesting. So if it takes 8 hours to process a meal, it's only 24 hours a day. When is your body not processing the food, digesting the food, and putting it in the proper places? It's overworking your body, which means your blood pressure rises, which means things slow down, and that increases your chances of diabetes, and so forth and so on and so on. So the worst thing in the world, the worst thing in the world is to be comfortable in a world in which the government has you as a target. We are under attack. We have been under attack by the United States federal government for hundreds of years since the government started. Since the 4th of July, 1776, which is actually August 2nd, but let's not get into that. But this is what I want you to understand. We are in the midst of nonsensical behavior by the United States federal government. And I have told you time and time again, this is an evil and a wicked regime. Evil only knows how to attack this way. That's why evil doesn't reign supreme. When they are attacking you, they attack with such force and such mass, they usually overwhelm. But they haven't been able to overwhelm our community. Nothing has been able to overwhelm our community in the history of Black America. Nothing at all has been able to overwhelm us. Therefore, we can't be defeated. We haven't been defeated, but we have been subdued. And when we are subdued, we never regroup and move forward. So now it's time to play defense. We need to realize that this thing will come to an end. You can see it coming to a crescendo right now because they're already infighting. There are already people like Ron DeSantis being exposed as an embezzler, potentially exposed as an embezzler. You already see their plan falling apart at the seams. And when you see their plan falling apart at the seams, you'll see how you and your community can thrive. See, we can fight this thing off, but as we fight, that's the thing about defense. A jab looks like an offensive move, but it's really a defensive move. It's a setup. As we keep these people off of us, what we do is this. Going forward, what we do is we keep them off of us. What we do is lay down the infrastructure for our community to be successful, not to integrate into the system, not to be a part of the system, but to create your own system. That's the only way you survive. That's why other communities in this country survive and thrive, because while they fight, they continue to build an infrastructure that will support them after the fight is won. We know the fight will be won because evil cannot prevail, because it's too simplistic to fail. Too simplistic to succeed. It is constructed to fail because, again, if you are not moving and adjusting and you're just moving with physical force, people who have the academic, the physical, and the spiritual dexterity to get out of your way and attack you in other ways, then and only then will they lose and you win. But we keep winning in this fight against the United States federal government, but we have yet to establish a foundation for our community to move forward so we can advance and thrive. At the end of the day, we don't have to participate. All we have to do is engage in the barter system. If you doubt what I'm saying, you look at someone like the former governor of the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis. I think he's the Secretary of State right now, if I'm not mistaken. This dude, he's under investigation currently for stealing. Let me look at this number. I wrote it down because I knew I wasn't going to remember it. I think it's $67 million. The Medicaid program there overcharged their citizens $67 million. So instead of that money going back into the coffers of the state, it is alleged that he has siphoned into a PAC, a political action committee, has received $10 million, and he's tried to poo-poo it. But now the Department of Justice are looking at this, and him and his wife may be in a situation to where as they're being taken down. just like the Department of the Secretary of Defense, and just like other people. They're consistently being taken down. And why they're being taken down? Because they assume because this dude is doing what he wants to do and how he wants to do, he'll continue to do it. But when you live in a situation to whereas people control things, this is why we need to step up and be a part of it, because the people control this situation. This is why, oh man, I'm not going to, you hear people, I'm not going to march anymore. Well, you really don't have to, because you can call and you can act a fool like people have been doing, engage, get involved like people have been doing on a myriad of ways. You can go protest in front of the big state houses. You can call. You can send emails. You can attack on social media. You can organize campaigns to register people to vote. It is this trope that's been going around our community for years. And man, the way you fix gun control is all black people start registering their guns, and then gun laws will fall into place and things be protected. Well, you know how you shut down a white nationalist system that's run by the people for the people? You and your church organization, you and your civic organizations come together and start a voters registration campaign, a state ID campaign, and we start donating so everybody in our community can vote in force. Because I continue to tell you, we have the largest community in the United States of America, whether you want to believe it or not, we do. And when you have the largest community in the United States of America, you know what happens? You and your people who are focused control the situation. But we refuse to do that for whatever reason. We can no longer sit back and wait for things to happen. We have to be proactive. We have to play defense, which is taking a strike, a jab, setting them up for the jab and for the knockout blow. The jab, in essence, will be immobilizing, coming together. And then we organize. When we organize, we have a focus. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to get out in force. And then we'll communicate within in interpersonal situations in our community. I'll get into that a little later. But these are the things that we have to do. We cannot substitute our future for our present. We are no longer trying to be a part of the structure. We are trying to create our own structure and work adjacent to the structure. We can't overthrow the government. What we can do is create communities that are vast, communities that are adjacent, because we are a vast amount of people and we can survive on each other. 60 million people that look like you and I in this country. If we support each other, we will continue to rise, and we will at that point dominate. If you guys always want to reference other communities, the Latino communities, the Jewish communities, and this community and that community, well, it's more of us than them. So if they can thrive, if they can excel, if they can prevail, why can't we? I don't want to remove all this negative talk about, see, that's our problem. Our problem is we continue to listen to the negativity that permeates our community about us. How are we, again, I'm starting to sound like a broken record. How are we listening to our oppressor about who we are? We can no longer do those things. It is insane that we do those things. Understand, just look at this program. I've had 172,000. I have 63,000. As a matter of fact, I'll give you the exact number. I will give you the exact number. This month alone, I've had 63,000 even. 63,000, not including the people who have tapped in today. 63,000 people this month alone. 63,000. Imagine if that was 463,000. At that point, things are insane. I'm making money. And at that point, I can galvanize people around me and we can move in a specific direction. The way we have gone out and made Ryan Coogler's movie the number one movie in America for a few weeks now. That's how we have to move with intention. We can no longer identify what's wrong with our community. We need to identify what's right with our community. We can no longer go along with tropes. We must go along, move with intention, move with the spirit of the Kings and the X's and the Evers and the Chisholms and the Fannie Lou Hamers and the Madam C.J. Walkers and the myriad of people from our community from its inception to today. They have lived, bled, and died so you can have this. We are living in the midst of a community that is all powerful but does not know its power. If we don't recognize our power, we can never exercise our power. But once we exercise our power, there will be no stopping us. I need us to understand that. If you don't understand that, you will continue to suffer the consequences of being subjected to someone else's opinion of you. We're in an abusive relationship. So why will we continue to be abused by the abuser and listen to the abuser's opinion and narration of us, about us? You must, in order to be successful, you must create your own narrative about yourself. And once you create your own narrative, you will elevate, move forward, and you will be wildly successful. We have no choice. We have no choice to do this. We have another option. Come together or suffer the consequence. Now, allow me to show the Black History video of the day. I'll do a little narration as I started doing recently, and I'll let you know why we need to do this. Check this out.
Massacres that occurred across the country. These massacres, often fueled by racism and white supremacy, have resulted in the deaths of countless innocent Black men, women, and children. From the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921 to the MOVE bombing in 1985, these horrific events have left deep scars on the Black community and serve as a painful reminder of the systemic oppression and violence we have faced for centuries. In this video, we will examine 10 of the most devastating incidents of violence against Black Americans throughout history. These massacres resulted in the loss of countless innocent lives and left deep wounds in the Black community. We must acknowledge and learn from these tragedies in order to move towards a more just and equitable society.
As you see, this is why I said we must play defense. When you're looking at this, the MOVE bombing, most of us don't even know what the MOVE bombing is. The MOVE bombing in 1985 in Philadelphia. See, we love to go back to the 1800s and the 1700s and early 1900s. We talk about 1985. 99% of the people who watch this program were living in 1985. They bombed a group of people who Mike Africa and his family and his organization in Philadelphia, because they didn't want to go along with status quo. This is what I'm talking about. If you don't play defense, you'll be attacked and be destroyed. Listen.
Let's start off with the Atlanta Massacre. The 1880s marked a turning point for Atlanta, as the bustling city became the epicenter of the regional economy. With the influx of new residents, the city's population skyrocketed from 89,000 in 1900 to a staggering 150,000 by 1910. But with this growth came a host of challenges, including increased pressure on municipal services, job competition between Black and white workers, and rising class distinctions. In response, the city's white leadership implemented restrictions designed to control the behavior of the burgeoning working class, with mixed results. However, the social intermingling of the ensuing races was a cause for concern among the city's elite whites. This led to an expansion of Jim Crow segregation.
As you see, this is something I continue to say. Every time we stand up, this is why integration in this situation is not feasible. It is not a smart way to live. If we continue to try to integrate into a system that has intentionally attempted to destroy us, we are fools. We are complete fools. How many times must people tell you we don't want to be involved with you before you realize that they don't want to be involved with you? We can no longer sit around and wait on people to accept us and respect us, because the more we sit and wait, the more they attempt to destroy us. This is not smart, people. We can no longer sit around and hope for the best. We must do. And when you do, you'll get. And when you get, you move forward. Listen to what's going on or has gone on.
Particularly in the form of separating white and Black neighborhoods and establishing separate seating areas for public transportation. The Black population also grew significantly, from approximately 9,000 in 1880 to 35,000 by 1900, exacerbating tensions between the races. The emergence of a Black elite in Atlanta during Reconstruction led to increased racial tensions in the city. Black men gained the right to vote and began establishing businesses, social networks, and communities. However, as the Black elite gained wealth and prestige, they distanced themselves from the Black working class and saloon goers, causing discomfort among some.
See, that's been our number one problem in this community since the beginning of time. Every time we get 5 cents, it's time for us to move away from each other and patronize other people, which is truly asinine. Look, I understand that when you one of the number one indicators of violence is an impoverished community. When you live in abject poverty, you have less opportunity. Less opportunity induces crime. That's just the bottom line. Look at the poorest countries in the world, you see the most crime. Remember a few years ago when the Olympics was in South America, that was the number one murder. That was the murder capital of the world at that time because of a lack of opportunities. People started living in survival mode. But instead of creating instances and providences that we can thrive in for ourselves and have people come patronize us, we think because everybody around me has a nickel and I have 75 cents, I need to go over there with the other people who have 75 cents. No, you stay over here and you create a 75-cent market in your own communities. Our communities have been targeted for decades and even centuries. You see this. That was in 1800. Did you see how exponentially the Black population in Atlanta grew in the early 1800s, from the 1890s at 6,000 to the early 1900s at 35,000? That's not even a whole lot of time. We're talking about 20 years, and it grew 4 times the population, almost 4 times the population. People understand. This is why I keep telling us, stop believing this narrative about us being minorities. We're not minorities. And the number one issue, in my personal opinion, this is not an expert opinion, this is my personal opinion. The problem with our community is this. One of the problems in our community is this. We actually believe that we're smaller than what we are. We actually allow people to tell us who and what we are. You cannot do that anymore. You cannot watch the news and determine who you are. You cannot refute things. We have to stop treating our community with the boy who cried wolf syndrome. Just because I can identify 50 things that are racist, that does not mean I'm stopping. I'm just letting you know. Take this into consideration. This is the first time in the history of the United States of America, and I do mean, let's say from the year 2000 going forward, this is the first time we can document the pain, anguish, and discrimination that our people have faced. See, if you did it in the 80s and the 90s, you would dismiss, the police are not bothering us. They're just making that up. So they're always complaining. In the 70s, you were being attacked. The police will brutally attack you and hurt you and pretend that things didn't happen. They were setting you up. In the 60s, you get beat to sleep. They were attacked. They were literally sick. You have documentation of dogs being sicked on us. You have fire hoses being pushed upon us, and there was no way to refute it because they would call you an agitator. And in the 50s, you were being killed. The 50s, 40s, and the 30s, you were just being killed. You couldn't look a person in the eye. You had to get off the sidewalk to deal with them. So you couldn't say anything. But here's this, with the advent of social media, the advent of technology, that you walk around with that computer in your hand with a functioning digital camera on it that you can broadcast to the world. You can see these instances now. So when we identify them, it's not that, hey man, everything is racial. Well, guess what? You live in the United States of America. There's not one thing in America that is wrong with America that is not directly tied to race. Again, you just heard a guy who said the more the Black people grew, the more laws were created to hold them back, the more segregation, the more discrimination. That is proof positive of what I'm attempting to express to you today. Every time you rise up, they do something to knock you back down and quote unquote put you in your place. It is the ebb and flow of the United States of America since the advent of the United States of America. Europe flushed their toilets and sent the dregs of humanity over here. Those people start eating each other, they start raping each other, they start killing each other, and then they start killing the natives. And then they took over this land. There is not a corner, a neighborhood, a block, a county, a city, or state that wasn't taken, stolen, or murdered for. So don't tell me it's not about race, because if it wasn't, it would be a lot more dark people and a lot more people who are considered indigenous to this continent in this land, because they were annihilated. When you have people like former President and General Andrew Jackson destroying people, taking people out of Florida, sending them on what is called a trail of tears, putting smallpox in blankets and handing them to those people. And killing them, in essence, killing them. And nobody talks about this. This is why they want to do away with history, because when you expose the evil, then you're wrong. And when you're wrong, you have to stand down. Because you remember, it's all about having a moral compass, correct? And if it's not about race, why is it that the Civil War was fought? Because the South were going to use Black people as people, and the 3/5 compromise said we're 3/5 of a human being. So you wouldn't have as many people, so you wouldn't have as much control, so you wouldn't be able to control the financials in the United States of America. That's racial. That's racial, to consider you less than human. Because why would you consider less than human? So you can have control. Another reason, because then I could spiritually justify, because according, we want to say that we're upstanding, righteous white people, and we believe in God, and God wouldn't allow you to do this to a human being. But they are not human beings, so we can treat them the way we want to. Those savages that we call Indians, they're not human beings. We can treat them the way they want to treat them. They're still breaking treaties. If you watch a documentary called God, I forgot the name of the Exterminating the Brute. I'm sorry, people. Exterminating the Brute. It shows you how over 1,500 treaties have been broken. 1,500 contracts have been broken. 1,500 promises of peace have been broken. That's what a treaty is. A contract and a promise of peace have been broken, because we're going to force you out of Florida because we want Florida. And then we're going to force you west because we don't know what's out west. And once we find out what's west and the things that are valuable out there, we're going to come out there and kill you. We're going to kill the buffalo. We're going to kill all kinds of animals, because this is a destructive community. And it is what it is. But we won't face those facts. What we do is make excuses. If it's not about race, why is it that, again, the aforementioned former governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, did away with advanced placement African American studies? Why can't we study who we are? Why can't we build on who we are? Because if I catch you building, you'll rise up and destroy. That's why when you look into history in Jamaica, you think about the Taki Rebellion, because those people, the Jamaican, the ancestors that were there, the Africans, they said they started communicating and they rose up and took over Jamaica. They defeated one of the greatest armies in the world, but then they had backlash, and they came back with more people, and they destroyed. They fought them beat them into submission. But when you start communicating, that's why when you start communicating, you start educating, you start uplifting, and then you gain power. And that's why these things are done. That's why you don't know about Toussaint Louverture. That's why you don't know about Taki. That's why you don't know about John Horse. That's why you don't know about Nat Turner. That's why you don't learn about the people who have rose up and defeated people who have nothing but angst against your people, because in the event that you ever rise up, they are in fear that you will do to them what they've done to you. And in closing, I want to address another thing. This thing, we must stop us attacking the symptoms of racism, the runny nose of racism, the cough of racism, the aching body of racism, the cold sweats of racism, the headaches, the runny eyes of racism. Those are just symptoms of racism. The discrimination, the hate, the violence, those are just symptoms. When you find out what the root of it is racism, it is power. Racism is not about black and white, because race is a made-up construct. Race in its present state is a made-up construct. There are no black people, there are no white people, because you're only black and white here. When you leave this country, it's about nationalism. I am from Brazil. I am from Cuba. I am from Canada. I am from England. I am from Ireland. They don't care what you look like. That's why Giannis Antetokounmpo is known as the Greek freak, because he grew up in Greece. He's from Nigeria. But it is about nationalism. So if you really want to know what the racism is, it is a race to power and resources. It is a race to power and resources. And the best example of that race was this weekend, when a young man by the name of Shiloh Sanders was a victim of a backlash that was aimed at his father. People always want to address the rashness of our brother Deion Sanders and the flamboyance and the braggadocio. That's to get your attention. That is purely to get your attention. And then he produces results. We want to talk, how is it that a young man This is the fake news. How is it that a young man goes from the #1 pick in the draft, exceeds the expectations, and then you proceed to tear him down for exceeding his expectations? Nobody thought they would make a bowl game this year. Nobody thought they would only lose 3 or 4 games this year. Nobody saw that coming. But somehow, some way, because our other brother, Cam Ward, exceeded what they expected him to do, he was picked first, and Shador was picked 144th. People really believe that's the conversation. That's not the conversation. The conversation is simply this. One, Deion Sanders is about to take over the college football world. They have to figure out a way to take him down a notch. The easiest way to take you down a notch is to make it look like you're inept or don't have the ability to do what you need to do. They can't call him out because they know the people in the community and the youth are behind him, and they will galvanize behind him and protect him. But now every college football coach in the United States of America that's competing against one Deion Sanders, what they're going to say is he couldn't even get the best player on his team drafted into 144th. We have the resources to get you drafted higher. We have the finances to get you drafted higher. Don't go there. This is about knocking Deion down a peg. But when you say those things, nobody wants to address that. They only want to address the surface conversation. And the surface conversation is never the real conversation. See, Deion was about to take over the college landscape. A lot of coaches are quitting because they don't want to deal with NIL and they don't want to have young people with power. But when you see the meetings with Deion Sanders, he's telling people, you're not going to play this weekend if you're not academically available. Forget physically available. If you're not academically excelling, you will not play, because he understands 99.9% of y'all will not make the National Football League. And he's preparing young men. He's telling people, come to my school and you'll get a degree. And if you're good enough, you have the potential to go to the National Football League. Instead of selling people dreams and giving them money and not giving them guidance along with that money. That's the problem. He's telling the truth, but he's not, and he's shaming the devil in essence. He's telling the truth and he's shaming the devil. And why? How is he doing it? It's because he's letting them know you're not going to make the league. More than likely, you're not going to make the league. Play your behind off here, get a degree, and advance your academic mind, advance your adulthood, and advance and matriculate into your community and be successful. Versus, you know what, I'm going to give you a lot of money and I'm going to put you in the best chance of being in the NFL. But how about this? If I give you $250,000, $300,000, am I telling you about taxes? Am I telling you about the money that you have to pay the government? Am I letting you know that, hey, your academic future is here? A lot of those guys are not doing that because they're there to win football games. Ending, I'll talk about our young brother, Shiloh Sanders. Shiloh Sanders is an excellent football player. He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And if it was me and that was my son, and I'm not in that position, so it's easy for me to do it, I would tell my son to go play Canadian football. He already has the attention of being Deion Sanders' son. He already has a brother who has a production company who will document everything he's doing. He will bring eyes from the Black community, the most powerful audience in the world, because when we move, the rest of the world follows us. If you don't agree, Ludwig van Beethoven, we can start there. We can start right there. Then we can move to bebop with Duke Ellington and those kinds of guys. We can move to Little Richard and Chubby Checker with rock and roll, with the advent of rock and roll. Then we go to the Motown sound. And then we can get the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, which is a Muddy Water song. And so you see the European invasion, they came over here. The Doors idolized Black artists. And then you see the funk music with the James Brown and the Sly Stone. Then you had an Average White Band and Tower Power emulating that sound. And then you take Tina Marie emulating the Patti LaBelle's, the Aretha Franklin's, the Gladys Knights. And then you got the world following that. Then you got the Michael Jacksons and the Princes. And then you got the hip hop culture that is permeated throughout the entire landscape of the world. See, we don't realize what we're doing in regards to dominating the world and taking over the world. But what we need to do is start instructing our young men, asking our young men, do you want to be in the NFL? Do you want to be in the NBA? Do you want to be a professional athlete? There's a tremendous difference. If you want to be a professional athlete, it doesn't make a difference who's watching. And the last time I checked, just because I got $300 million and you got $700 million, this is what I want you to pay attention to. If Shedeur Sanders would have went to Canada, would he make $50 million a year like one Dak Prescott? Probably not. He probably won't make $50 million, but you know what he will do? He'll probably make $15 to $20 million. I'll give you two people and you cross compare them. LeBron James is a billionaire. Dwayne Wade is probably worth $200 or $300 million. There's nothing that LeBron James has that Dwayne Wade doesn't. Big fancy house, he has it. A bunch of fancy cars, he has it. A whole bunch of watches and nice clothes, they both have them. See, that's the difference. When you don't have to adhere to what other people say, you don't have to do these things. For people who don't understand where I'm coming from, this is it in a nutshell. If you set the pace, you don't have to try to win the race because everybody's trying to catch me. I set the pace. It is easy. Listen to this interview this weekend. One Too Short, hip hop Hall of Famer, one of the greatest rappers and one of the greatest influence in hip hop culture ever. He even said it. He gave instruction to young, striving people in the hip hop community. He said, if you're making $200,000 a year and the labels offer you $2 million, don't take the $2 million. He said an extra zero could potentially cost you more than you want. And then you have people like Tech-9, multi-millionaire, been making millions of dollars for 30 years now. You have people like, what's his name, Don Tripp out of Memphis. He putting out an album every few months, and he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, you don't know who they are, but the bank knows who they are. See, once we establish ourselves as a community that's a self-contained unit, again, if 1/2 or 1% of the community gets behind Don Tripp and just play his music every day, you talk about 500,000 people, 500,000 plays a day. And then we get behind other people. We go see the Ryan Coogler movies. We made Ryan Coogler a multimillionaire. We made Tyler Perry a billionaire. We made Spike Lee and his cousin and other Black creators multimillionaires. You can create as well. We don't need to follow anybody's lead. What we need to do is make sure we are winning. With that being said, I want to thank the people in the chat room. I want to thank the people who are listening now. And remember, if you want to watch the video in its entirety, the Black History video that I posted, go to www.theendofthebench.com. You can see on the left-hand side is this episode. On the right-hand side is the Black History video. Play both of them. Help your man out. You people have been showing up and showing out. Today, I picked up 2 additional subscribers. Greatly appreciated. Hit that like, hit that share, continue to comment, agree, disagree. Hey, shout out to the racists who've been leaving me some real ugly messages in my chat rooms. Greatly appreciated. Continue y'all good work too, because guess what? There's 63,000 people that tapped in this month. You part of that too. Appreciate you. Y'all help too. Every little bit helps. Hate, love, indifference, it all helps. But what I really want us to do is understand what we're up against, what we can do, and what we have. If you do that, you can't be defeated. Remember, wicked, evil, and negativity only knows how to run right at you because it's the wicked energy is almost like the Hulk. Or if you are familiar with Marvel Comics, the Juggernaut. It just comes right at you and it seems unstoppable. But when you can step to the side, you can step to the right, and you can jump over and around, you can defeat anything. But if it's only a Mack truck rolling down the hill with the pedal stuck, at some point that Mack truck will hit the wall, explode, and destroy itself. And as long as you don't let it take you with you, you'll win. You won't be destroyed. Thank you guys for tapping in as usual. I'll be on air in about 23 more minutes on the forecast. We will be reviewing G60 with Viola Davis. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Tap in about 23 minutes. This your man, HRap B. 2 fingers, 1 word. Check y'all out in about 23 and a half hours because I am
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why